What's going on? What's going on? It's your boy, Storyteller Jet, with another episode of the That's So Fire Talk Show. And today, I have a fire show for you. And I have my special friend here, Elliot Cadwell, in the house today. We're going to be talking about all of the amazing businesses that he has. He has like over 13 of them. But most importantly, how he transitioned from being a teacher to now running over 9-figure portfolio of businesses. What's going on, Elliot?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me, Jet.
Absolutely, man. Such a pleasure. I've been looking forward to having you on the show since we connected, I don't know what, like maybe a few weeks ago?
Maybe.
Yeah. Really cool. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you. You did a good job here. This place is sick.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. So let's do a quick introduction of who you are, and then we'll dive into the conversation today.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Elliot, I like to think of myself as a husband, father, and CEO. I have an amazing, beautiful wife named Kylie. She is pregnant with our third child, so our first girl. So we're excited about that. Then a 6-year-old boy and a 4-year-old boy. I got Cannon Sutton, and the girl's name will be Marin. So May 26th, we'll have a little girl.
May 26th. I got married May 27th.
Nice.
So
Your brother got married 3 years ago yesterday.
That's crazy. Yeah. Talking about that, like since you've came to the show, you've been humming How Great Thou Art, which is awesome. I love that song. Tell me a little bit about your faith.
Yeah, I mean, I think it all starts I think everybody has a story, right? And I grew up in probably low middle class home. By no means did we not, I had a meal at every point in time in my life. I never went hungry or any of that. I always had clothes on my back, but there was nothing really extra, right? There was no extra. There was food, clothes, a lot of baseball. Any extra money went to baseball because, traveling, paying for everything is very expensive. Not just, especially now, but as well then. And home life was okay. My dad was amazing. Had some struggles, growing up. At an early age, my mom was diagnosed with schizophrenia, bipolar.
Really?
Yeah. So I didn't know it then, but Jesus was always with me. Even though I didn't know him, he knew me. And, I look back at those times, there was always a calm presence somehow. And in my belief, it was him. And so, the things he's gotten me through from then to now is just absolutely remarkable and unexplainable other than that. And so, that's kind of my story when it comes to that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I always want to ask people about that because this is something that is, I truly believe all of the stuff that we see here in the studio have been a gift from God. Yeah. And whenever I get the opportunity to, share a little bit about my faith and other people's faith too, I always, ask them that question.
Yeah.
And hear a little bit about their journey as well.
Yeah, our pastor puts it best. About 10 minutes up the road, Harborside Church, we go, and Kurt Parker's head pastor. And I was talking to him one time, and he said, we aren't visionaries. Like, God puts the visions inside of us, and it's our job to execute those visions with his help, of course. And so, fully believe in that. I mean, we can get into it as well with if you know me and knew me, like my wife knows me, like my close friends know me, like I'm not capable of building a $100 million plus business. Just like little old Elliot is not capable of that. And so there's got to be like some factors there that play into it as well. So
yeah, awesome. So how did that, you just mentioned that you have over $100 million portfolio of businesses. Yeah. How did that get started?
So 2017 or 2016, I graduated from the University of South Carolina with my master's in teaching, and my wife graduated with her bachelor's in teaching. So in 2017 in Columbia, South Carolina, I taught ninth grade world history, and then 12th grade economics at Lexington High School. And my wife was a 6th grade English teacher at Gilbert Middle School. And So, I mean, no one in our family, has ever made six figures before in their life. No one's ever gone to do these crazy things. So I didn't have, like, I think most entrepreneurs, like, oh, I was an entrepreneur since I could remember. That wasn't me. Like, I grew up not expecting, I always wanted to play professional baseball, right? And then, like the NCAA commercial, we all turn pro in something other than sports, right? And so just wasn't good enough on the baseball field to get drafted or make it to the next level. And so, I thought I just wanted to I really love football. And so to be a high school football coach and teacher, I thought that was going to be the case for me. First day of school, August of 2017, realized I didn't want to be a teacher my whole life the first day.
I'd like to learn more about that specifically.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
For you to walk in and decided, okay, I don't want to be a teacher for the rest of my life.
I mean, I think the compensation for the commitment weren't lining up, right? And I mean, you're getting there at 7 o'clock in the morning, and if you're a football coach, you're leaving at 7 o'clock at night. So you're putting in 12-hour days, and I made $37,000 a year with my master's, right? And
Wow.
so whatever the math is of, you're spending your summers in the weight room at the football field on 7-on-7 traveling. And so like the compensation for the commitment, like I said, wasn't matching up. And not that it's all about money, right? But still at the same time, like I knew I wanted to have a family. I knew I wanted to provide for my family. And it was going to be hard to provide, making whatever that is, 37 plus 32. My wife made 32K. So $69,000
Together
to make that happen. So,
Yeah. So when did you know that you wanted to become an entrepreneur, that you wanted to transition from being a teacher to a business owner?
So I think it was later. So in 2017, I took a job in Tampa, from South Carolina to Tampa. I was telling you earlier, I was in a sales position for a high school sports fundraising company, software company. It's kind of like the sports version of a GoFundMe. And our office was in this building on the third floor.
This is so crazy.
And like in this territory, it was just me and one guy or two guys, and me and them were in the top floor here, the third floor on the back corner. I should go out there and knock on it and see who's in there now. But anyways, so I was a sales rep for a high school sports fundraising company, which was great for me. So that first August of teaching, the week before teaching, or the week before, like kids come into school, it's called Dead Week, I think, or maybe it was before that. I think it was the last week in July. It's called Dead Week, where there's no sports allowed, no practicing allowed, no, just like the kids have to go rest or whatever and get ready for the school year. And so every year there is like a sports coaching clinic. I don't know if it's the case now, but in 2017 it was, or 2016 it was, where every single coach for every single sport was required to go. And so it's like any other conference, so there's vendors everywhere, right? And one of the vendors was the high school sports fundraising company. And I knew, his name was Daniel Gosnell. I knew Daniel. Daniel was from where I'm originally from, and that company was where I'm originally from, a small town called Easley, South Carolina. And connected with him, was like, man, I don't know if I want to be a teacher. He was like, I can put you in Tampa. And I'd already committed to the school for that year. So I was like, all right, let me finish this year up, and then, we'll talk, right? And so spring break of 2017 was coming around, that March, April of 2017. And I called him. I was like, hey, let's do this. I'm finishing up the school year, looking for something different. It's a sales job, but it wasn't necessarily sales because it was free for the coaches to do. We could cut on the back end. So my job was to go in there and talk to ball coaches all day, talk to football coaches, talk to baseball coaches, basketball coaches, cheerleading squads, whatever it was, just talk to people. I wasn't like selling them an actual product. So 2017, 2018, 19, 20, and 21, I did that. So the entrepreneurship, to answer your question, long way around to answer your question, from 2017 to 2021, I was just selling my ass off. And I went from making that $37K from the 2016 to 2017 school year to the next school year, 2017, 2018, probably made I think it was like $220K. and then eventually was like 2018, 19, 20, 21, averaging around 500K a year in like, salary plus commission. So that is kind of when I created enough income to start thinking about other ways to create freedom. And so 2021, March, I bought my first Airbnb. It was a cabin in North Carolina. We still have it. Then I got it for an interest rate of like 1.75%. And so my mortgage on that is like $2,000, and it brings in like $12,000 a month. So it's now it's the best real estate deal I have, right?
Yeah,
and
for
so
sure.
a lot harder to make things pencil now in the current interest rate environment, and then the appreciation environment we went through, 2021 to now, as home prices have increased throughout the country. And right around then, 2021, I'm essentially managing my own, Airbnb, which is a, very super small business at that point. And then, I think right around then is when, I got the itch, to do something on my own.
Yeah.
And got really plugged in to just, anything motivational, anything inspirational on social media. That stuff I still love, to get the mindset right. And that's kind of when that was all started.
That's awesome. When you move from North Carolina or South Carolina,
yeah.
to here in Tampa, were you married at that time?
Yeah,
Or?
yeah. So my wife and I got married July 30th, 2016. So right before school started, we got married. And we're actually, it'll be 10 years this summer.
Wow.
So,
Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. So how did she take all of that? Like for you wanting to move, I don't know, maybe she probably had a job at that time too. And like, how did you guys, I guess, decide to make that move together if she had a job and you were pursuing something else?
I think it's a God thing too. Like, it was an easy decision to make. I think we felt at peace. It also helped that my salary alone with the fundraising company was more than her and I made together teaching. It was like $72K salary. So like, I didn't have to sell anything. Now I'd get fired, but we make more than what we would make as teachers. So that helped, right? Because I think I had a goal to make 125K the first year, and I made 200K. I remember that summer before school started, we were with her friend in Atlanta, and her boyfriend at the time was like I think it was like a pharmaceutical sales rep, and he was making I think it was $110,000. I don't know how. I think the girlfriend told us, and I remember in my head thinking like, I'll never make $110,000. That's crazy, right? No one in my family's done it. There's no way I'll do it. And so, it's fun to think about, the limits we put on ourselves. But yeah, that was 2000. That was the fall of 2017.
Yeah, I think there are some great lessons from some people that might be watching this right now. So a lot of us, like a lot of people, they put those limits on themselves, like, thinking that, I can achieve I cannot achieve this. I cannot do this. What advice would you give to anybody that might be putting those self-limiting beliefs on themselves right now?
Yeah, I think that's part of my story too, where like, and like I said earlier, like if I can do it, anybody can do it. Where, of course, there's a lot of, I would say, lessons to be learned that I've learned, and some things I live by building, building businesses. But I think if you don't have just like ridiculous self-belief, I think you're not gonna succeed. Name any successful person in America, in the world, that's ever been successful. They had like almost like supernatural, like crazy self-belief. Like they shouldn't have had it, but they did. And so like I should never have like had the confidence to go do what we did, but somehow I did. And looking back on it, it was more a God-given self-confidence, and I probably shouldn't have had it, but I did.
Yeah. Is there a way, or what can you do to build that self-belief?
I think we are who we think we are, right? And we are what we think. So getting every single negative thought out of your head. That's why eating right is so important. That's why being healthy is so important. That's why working out is so important. That's why doing hard things is very important. And I've kind of just learned that in the past 6 to 12 months of making myself doing hard things from a physical standpoint, a mental standpoint, whether it's ice baths, whether it's saunas, whether it's suffering in silence, to build your mental toughness. I think mental toughness is one of the most lost arts in today's world, especially in the young age that I'm raising my kids. In today's world, we give kids too much, and we don't raise kids that have mental toughness. And so by no means am I going to raise my kids in an environment where they're not loved and they're not happy and they're not, I want them, as they're older to always want to come home and dad was the best dad ever. But at the same time, prepare them for the real world, right? And building mental toughness. So to answer your question, I would say, building mental toughness will increase your self-confidence, because if you keep doing hard things over and over and over again, you'll be willing to do it.
Yeah, for sure. The entrepreneur journey is full with ups and downs.
Oh yeah.
Can you share some of your hardest moment that you faced throughout your entrepreneur journey, and how did you come out of that?
Yeah, I think I have it'll come back. It'll continually come back to haunt me. But I have a deep belief in people and trust in people, and I think the problem there, you're gonna get screwed over, right? And probably about 2 years ago, I think it was summer of 2024, so coming on 2 years. We've only been a company since November of 2022, so a year and a half into that, I had a bookkeeper steal $50,000 from us.
Wow.
And so, I don't everything we do gets audited from a financial standpoint, right? We obviously audit our own books and audit in third-party audit our own books as we gear to any type of exit that we're getting ready for. And come to find out, so she would send me payroll, and so I would look over payroll. At that point, call it 40 people. So I would see the transactions come out of the bank. Everybody's different, right? And so different transactions come out of the bank. And then she said, email me a report, but she'd email me a spreadsheet. And so what she was doing is paying herself twice. So it would say, her name, whatever it was, 4,000 or probably $5K a month. And then that's all it would say, because she would go on the spreadsheet and delete the row that said that second payment. And so she got arrested. I don't think you should steal from people, because it's going to catch up to you, right?
Yeah,
and
for
so
sure.
we had to hire a private investigator, because the local police in this small town in Tennessee weren't very helpful, and the investigator wasn't very helpful. But it's $50K. It's a lot of money. I don't care who you are, and the principle behind it too, right?
Yeah,
and
100%.
So, I probably spent $50K in attorneys and PIs to get it back. But yeah, I think that was tough, right? You give so much to your team, and you pour your heart into your team, and you pray for them, and you love on them, and you give them every single piece of you. I tell my team all the time, what my wife's not getting and what my kids aren't getting in terms of my energy and focus, my business is getting everything. And so my team's getting everything. And so, that hurt, to pour so much into people, and love on their kids and pray for their kids and, do everything we're doing to try and build something special, and then someone to come, steal from you. That was tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were there any moments throughout your 13 different companies where, things were extremely hard, and meaning having that heavy burden on your shoulder? How did you, if you've had any of those moments, how did you come out of that?
Yeah, I think I definitely struggled early with, because here's the thing. When I left like I said, in my story, there's no one behind me that I can run to, right? Mm-hmm. It's all on me. My dad, there's no trust fund to run to. There's no dad to run to with lots of money. My dad's great, but he's not by any means wealthy, so I can't run to anybody, right? And same thing, my in-laws are great, but I can't run to them for money, so it's all on my chest, right? And so I left a $500,000 guaranteed job for at least another 10 years, right? Which is amazing money and life-changing money to do a startup. And from November 2022 to July 2023, didn't make any money. So for 7-8 months, $0 of income, relying on past money that we've made At that point, we had like 7 Airbnbs that were significant cash flow, so that kind of paid for our bills and everything. So I would say early on, I struggled with the day-to-day pressure and anxiety of performing, and not just for me, but just like, I mean, I had a 2-year-old and newborn at that time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I left the job with a 2-year-old newborn, and my amazing wife supported me the whole entire time. I think most wives would be like, hey, let's give it like 12 months, and then let's go, do this, right? And so to make sure we have enough we can buy diapers and buy formula if we need it and whatnot. And so I struggled with that early on, but then kind of just came back into the reality that Jesus is going to take care of everything, right? And I mean, I still struggle with that today, right? I mean, like every business, like to have a $100 million company, that's not like we're not bringing in $100 million of cash, every single year. What that is like we did about $15 million of EBITDA last year. In our market of our business, we can get a 10 to 15x on that 15 million. So 150 to $225 million company that we're continuing to grow. We're continuing to acquire companies, and so some months are close to $2 million months, and then some months, because things are kind of seasonal sometimes, we're losing $300,000 a month, and so, and that, and I know that, but you're still in the back of your head, there's that, that little birdie that's like, hey, you just lost $300,000 this month, y'all better pick it up, right? And so we always do. There's just the seasonality of our business. So I guess that's the biggest struggle.
Yeah.
It's a good question.
Yeah, for sure.
It hurts.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you are not running through those like ups and down, do you even have a business?
Yeah. I mean, I think most people, I mean, maybe it's just me, but I think like every entrepreneur and business leader or anyone that owns a business, like, has those dark thoughts in their head of like, what if it all stops tomorrow? What if like, there's just so many things that can go wrong, right? That you can't control. And so that's been helpful, right? Everybody here is, control what you can control. So just trying to focus on that too. I can focus on my effort, my discipline, my intensity, my discipline essentially with our teams and with our growth metrics. And then in the end, everything else take care of itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you have anything in particular that you do to work through the anxiety or those moments where, those dark thoughts are popping up in your mind?
Yeah, just put How Great Thou Art on over and over and over again. No, I mean, yeah, worship music, man. I mean, it puts me in a place of calm, of peace. Harborside Worship has 4 or 5 albums out. They have an instrumental. They said no words. It's just instrumental song called "Pray," and dude, I'll just put that on, and it just like puts a blanket of peace over you. And so, there's so many tremendous artists out there that have put out incredible pieces of music that I listen over again. My best friend, his name is Hayden. He lives in South Carolina. He's a pastor. Just leaning on him for advice and mentorship. Just in the Word. But then also, the more practical things, more or less, working out, getting in the sauna, getting in the ice bath, doing hard things again, turning my phone off. We just went on a baby moon. Today's Tuesday. We got back Sunday, Thursday to Sunday. Went to the Bahamas, just me and my wife, to get ready for the baby coming in May. Shout out to my in-laws for keeping the kids, the boys. And I turned my phone off from Thursday to Sunday.
Wow.
Never done that before. I've never turned my phone off for ever. Like, not even like unless I'm sleeping, right? And so, the past, call it, 9 years, 10 years or 9 years since we moved down here, it has just been constant hustle for sun up to sundown, and, I'm never on my phone scrolling on social media. Some people are like trying to veg out, scroll from 7 to 10 p.m. and not do anything. And I try and like preach to our team. Like, I'm just always working on my phone, Slack messages, emails, looking at bookings, whatever it may be. So getting away from that, spending time with my kids, spending time with my wife, and focusing on them too, and giving them the love they deserve.
Yeah.
those few things.
Yeah. So over that 5 days that you turned off your phone, can you share with me what did that do? How did you feel during that time and after you were done with that?
Yeah.
Like, to walk me through that process, because that for me, I know that I'm not gonna be able to do something
Yeah.
like that. But what are some of the unintended benefit that came out of it after you kind of gone through that phone
Yeah.
cleanse?
I think there's some personal things that I went through the past few days to learn from a learning perspective, but also a business perspective where it's so cliche to say something like you're only as successful as those around you, or how important your team is and all that. And I don't think we even get close to realizing that and preaching that to what it truly is, right? That I can turn my phone off for 3 days on a huge business that we have, and our C-suite can kind of run things. And it's like, hey, Kylie, my wife, her phone's on. If y'all need, and they all have her number. It's like, y'all need anything, if there's an emergency, text her. Not a single one text her, right? I may have slipped her out with my wife's phone and texted Victoria to get some updated sales numbers, but that was it. I didn't turn my phone on once. But and then from a personal perspective, it was amazing. I think what I noticed the most is how consumed we are with our cell phones, right? Because we're at the pool, and I got nothing to do but eat, maybe drink a little too much, and I bought a bunch of books and I read books. But then I'm looking around, kind of hanging out, and I just notice how everybody's on their phone and on their iPads and headphones in, and they're not communicating with each other, right? So I had amazing conversations with my wife, and our views on life and our views on our kids' futures, and just how we want to attack the future together. So I think that was the biggest piece of it. Like, I know I'm on my phone all the time, and more than I should be. But I realized the first day was hard. The second day was easier. The third, fourth, fifth day were easier and easier. So now I've kind of committed. Weekends phone off. I got a little flip phone just for my wife, because we still got to be able to communicate, right, on the weekends if I'm taking the boys somewhere or she's taking the boys somewhere. So I have a flip phone off, my work phone off on the weekends, so no social media, no nothing on the weekends. And then at night, around 5 or 6 o'clock, I'll turn it off too, and not open it until 9 a.m. the next day. That'll be harder, because the easiest time for me to work is when the kids go down, right? Kids are down, it's 8 o'clock. So from 8 to 11, I'm not being bothered by anything. That's like the only time to have me time, because my kids are up at, 5:36, so there is no, sure, I could probably wake up like those crazy people that wake up at 4, but that's not me, And so that's kind of the things I've learned. It was a fun kind of experiment for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. So you've built a massive business. What did it take for you to grow your business into like a $100 million portfolio?
Yeah, so I own half the company. The other half's owned by my business partner, Michael Elefante. So when it comes to influence and monetize and scale, that's the third one, right?
Yep, that's
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, he has done that, and I've learned from him from that. More than anybody in the short-term rental space. I think he has like 700,000 Instagram followers, over 1 million on TikTok, and all his content is only Airbnb. So just sitting back and watching like what he's able to do, top of the funnel, which he already preached to people as well. Like top of funnel, it's all him, right? Especially early on, not as much now, but early on it was all him, and that's been huge for our company from a scale perspective, to scale quickly. I mean, it's only been 3 years, or this November will be 4 years, and so to go from 0 to $50 million in net profit in a year is absolutely
Bananas.
yeah. Well, and then 2, it's been bootstrapped. No investors, no debt, no private equity, no venture capitalists, no family office, nothing, right? And so shout out to Michael. He's an amazing, our kind of values work well together too. Amazing husband, amazing father. And then he and I are best friends. And so that's been the first piece to it, top of the funnel. 2022 in November, we started as a property management company. I had at the time like 6 or 7 properties, and I think he had 6 or 7 properties, and we were both self-managing. And we we're like, hey, we're tired. I DM'd on Instagram probably like a year before that, right? We were just friends. And that summer, we were talking, and it was like, hey, I'm tired of getting, calls about the air conditioning going out at 9:30 at night for these 6, 7 properties, whatever's going on. He was tired of it too. So we went to go look for a solution of a property management company. At the time, and still today, there wasn't a property management company that could not just succeed nationwide, but also perform nationwide for us. Because our properties, out of the 12 properties, they're probably in like 7 or 8 different locations.
Wow.
And so, like all other businesses, when there's a problem and no solution, you got to create the solution. So we created a nationwide property management company that could succeed nationwide and perform nationwide. And we've grown that from 12 properties in 2022 to in 2026 with over 1,000 properties.
Wow.
We're at like 700 right now. Probably 50 in onboarding, another 100 or so in like design and construction. So that'll be 900, and then we're 850 just at those, and so we'll add another 100, 150 this year. We were the fastest ever private company to 500 homes. We did it in like less than 3 years, and since then, that's probably our second or third biggest business now. Our first is B&B Turnkey. B&B Turnkey feeds all the other businesses. So B&B Turnkey created, with everything that Michael and I were putting out on social media, we were getting so many comments and questions and DMs like, hey, can I just give you, $500,000 and you got to do this for me? Because I don't have the time, whether I'm a doctor, I'm an attorney, I'm a dentist, I'm an athlete, I'm a celebrity, whatever it may be. So can you just do it for me? And at the time it was like, no, we don't do that. Like, that's just not something we do. But then 10 people ask, you got to start doing it, right? And so now about 30 people come through B&B Turnkey, and they use all of our services from kind of coming in the funnel to going live and us managing on the back end and everything in between. It's all done in-house. It's the only of its kind in the country, which is good because like certain parts of the process we have competitors, but we're the only ones that do the whole entire process from finding the property, designing the property, adding all the amenities, adding the lazy river, adding the pickleball court, whether it's the new kitchen cabinets, whatever it may be, we do it all in-house, and then manage the property in the back end. So like we can't pass the blame if the property doesn't succeed. We can't pass the blame to anybody. It's like, okay, we found you this property, but somebody else is managing it, so it's their fault. It's not our fault. Because we're the whole thing. So like we have to, live by kind of what we're practicing. Nothing's guaranteed in life, but if something goes wrong, it's our fault. And so B&B Turnkey has been great. Like I said, about 30 people or so come into that. The ad agency that we were using for that, we were going to talk about this earlier, was killing it. Rick Gase out of LA, a great friend now, and we acquired half of his company. And so now we're him and Mike are business partners. We're 50-50, and that's going to blow up for us as well. So
that's incredible. I see there's a pattern here. Finding about things like different companies that are working and either like creating your own or acquiring those other companies, right, and adding those to your portfolio. Why is that a great strategy to like hire, buy other companies and basically roll up them in your bigger company?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's been like, for example, B&B Lending. We have our own mortgage company and lending company because we were referring our clients out to any and all, probably 3 or 4 lenders that we recommended. And then we go do the math, and it's like, hey, there's, $200,000 a month in commission that we're just giving to these people because it's, we're trying to take care of our clients, right? Why don't we just bring that in-house? And so, all right, then it kind of goes into, all right, what is the red tape about having a mortgage company, lending company, and all that, right? Same thing for the insurance company we have and creating, and same thing for, pretty much any company, there's always some regulation and red tape, right? That's kind of the first step. And then we have, I think, the problem that most people have is the top of the funnel, right? That's what we have figured out, right? Where if, like, for example, if you wanted to go start a construction company, it's like, all right, how do I go acquire clients? All right, we already had that, right? And so we just have to figure out the operations and the logistics behind it. And so it's been huge for us, because then it turns into, like, to get into B&B turnkey, it costs $20K. So, if that's all we did, each client was worth $20K, right? But now they use all our other services with us, each client's worth about $70K, not including the management on the back end. So we have like two business models going. We have the upfront fees, but then the reoccurring revenue on the back end. So, I would say average management property creates $2,000 to $4,000 of monthly reoccurring revenue. So, if it's $3K, so call it over a 12-month period, 36, plus that 70, each client, the first 12 months worth $106,000. And so, we only do our return on ad spend on that front end 20K when we do like our ROAS and whatnot. And so it's been huge, and allowed us, it's kind of like, it fuels everything else that we want to do. Like, you got to have money to go do this stuff, right? And go try new things. And so as we go try new things, we're so cash flow heavy that, like, me and my business partner, sure, we're taking money and we're reinvesting. Every dollar that he and I spend is for tax purposes. Long story short, using the short-term rental loophole, we are able to invest into Airbnbs and 100% bonus depreciate all the depreciation in that property. I'm about to put out an article, not an article, or a script for some videos, some content. I made $2.85 million last year. That's what we distributed. Right, the business made more money, and we reinvested that in some R&D and whatnot. But like me and my wife personally, $2.85 million. A doctor that doesn't do anything from a tax strategy standpoint or a tax advisory standpoint, if they go make $2.85 million, they're gonna pay about $1 million in taxes. Living in Florida, more if you live in California, live in New York, or more in these high, because there's no state income tax here. I paid $185,000 in taxes on that $2.85 million.
Wow.
So, over 80% deduction in taxes just by investing into Airbnbs. That's a huge part of what we do too. If I had to pick like one thing of who we are and what we are, we're a tax strategy company because the best thing that ever happened to us was the big, beautiful bill in July of last year. It brought back 100% bonus depreciation for real estate. So if you have rep status, which is your real estate professional status, which is 750 hours of real estate work plus over half of everything you do, you can create that status. But that's hard for athletes and doctors and attorneys to get 750 hours and it be over half of everything they do. So what you can do is have 100 hours involved, the average day be less than 7 days, and then we can't have anybody that's over 100 hours independently. As a group, we'll be over 100, but not independently. We won't have anybody over 30 hours, right? And so, we're a tax strategy company as well. We're actually starting business number 14 coming out any day now, tax advisory and CPA firm.
Wow.
Because same thing, hey, I need a tax advisor, I need a CPA, hey, go talk to this person. Before we know it, we're sending out 30 people a month to these tax advisors, CPAs. All right, let's bring this on house. So,
yeah. Finding all the other business that are ancillary to the core offer and that you would refer out anyway, and turn that into an additional service or things that you can provide to your customers.
Right.
Love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's 100% correct.
Yeah. So a lot of people, they talk about focus a lot. If you need to be successful as an entrepreneur, you need to focus. But for you, you are having like 13 different companies that you are running. How do you do that?
Yeah, I think you mentioned it just a second ago. Like, it's not like we're doing, all right, over here we got, our property management company for Airbnbs. Over here we're doing construction for multifamily properties. And over there we have a primary residence interior design company, right? Everything is hotels and Airbnb focused. And so most of everything. We also recently started a HVAC company and a garage door company. So that's just in real estate in general, not just Airbnb. So it kind of goes back to it's in one niche. So like I focus on the collective as a whole. Then we have leaders in the collective. Like someone's in charge of BNB lending. Someone's in charge of BNB construction. Someone's in charge of BNB turnkey. And then we have our C-suite, our COO, or CRO, or CLO, CMO, and I'm forgetting one, CFO. I might have said that already, but anyways, they are the best of the best. And I know every CEO says their team is the best of the best, but like, dude, I would fight for them. And then being a history buff, and mainly like military history buff, I try to there's a fine line between being disrespectful to the military and comparing business to military because they're not comparable, right? We all know that, right? I mean, shout out to our veterans and service members. I'm not trying to compare business to that, but you can learn a lot of things from the military, right? And one of them is the foxhole. Like in your foxhole, you want people that you can trust. You want people that are loyal. You want people, you don't necessarily care how smart they are. Of course, they got to be willing to learn, right? But when it comes to IQ, EQ, and CQ, intelligence, emotional, and curiosity. I want people that are curious and emotional, have an emotional intelligence, right? I don't want them emotional. I want them to have emotional intelligence where they can get along with people, they can understand people, they're trustworthy people, versus, you see all the time with people that are insanely smart, their IQ is off the charts, but they can't get along with people. There's no, I don't want that, right? I can teach you everything that we're doing, unless it's some high level accounting, CPA stuff, or our closers and our sales team are really good at what they do, but everything else I can pretty much teach you in 3 days, right? Yeah. So I need people that I can trust. I need people that are absolute go-getters, because you don't, especially in business, you don't lead by rah-rah. You lead by example. There's no, I think maybe in sports you can get away with some of the rah-rah stuff, but I mean, have you seen that attorney that he does those? He'll start rapping on the morning.
Yes, yeah. 100%. I love seeing him.
Yeah, he's funny, right? It's all a show and it's all a game to to get eyeballs. It's funny, but that's not how you lead, right? And so you lead by example. And so we just have an amazing group. That while I am focused on my wife and my kids, not a single person in our company outworks me, right? If you put, all right, who's thinking about work the most, it's gonna be me. So, which is probably a con too, right? Where there's times where I shouldn't be thinking about work when I am, but I think that's what it leads to. And you mentioned it, time perspective and focus. I think you got to go a step beyond that. You got to be obsessed with everything that you're doing on the business front, especially as a startup, right? And then I tell our team all the time, I might be one of the few CEOs in the country that tells our team, I don't want you to work here your whole life. Most people want retention, and most people, and then I say that, and we've lost 2 or 3 people in the last 18 months. No one leaves, which I love. But even though I'm telling them to leave, right? But I tell them to leave to go start their own business, because the only way to create freedom in your life is to be an entrepreneur, or be a passive investor into something and get lucky, right? And so what I tell them is, hey, most people their age, we have a young company, a young staff, so call it 22 to 28 years old. Most people in that age group are going to wake up, scroll through their phone, maybe grab some coffee, scroll, walk into work at 9:01, just in time, maybe 8:59, I doubt it, more like 9:01, because we have these people that do that, right? They come in at 9:01 and they leave at 4:59. Why not wait till 5:01? What's that gonna hurt, right? But, and then they do as least as possible to get noticed from 9 to 5, and they go home. They do the same thing over. They might get dinner, might walk the dog, but then it's on the couch scrolling. Where, in my opinion, you and I get the same 24 hours a day. Okay, so I believe sleep's very important, so I try and get 8 hours of sleep a day. So there's 8 hours. So if I'm at a 9 to 5, I'm working for 8 hours and I'm sleeping for 8 hours. Those other 8 hours, those are the most important hours to that 22-year-old, 28-year-old that they'll ever have. What are you doing those 8 hours? All right, are you networking? Are you creating your own side hustle? Are you creating your business? We have people in our company that have multiple businesses, outside of their 9 to 5, and I love it. And they can ask me questions, and I give them feedback on what they're doing, and it's my hope and my goal that they can go on and do special things, because I know what entrepreneurship's done for me and my family, and how it's completely changed our lives. And so just trying to give back on that.
Absolutely love that. You have over 200 employees right now. How do you build that company culture?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all, if I had to pick one word, it's camaraderie. I think, and it's funny you say that, because I was just thinking about that in the Bahamas. I was reading a book. Have you ever heard of the HBO series called Band of Brothers?
No.
Phenomenal HBO series, probably on YouTube now, because it was probably like 20 years ago when that came out, and I was a kid, maybe 15, 20 years ago, I can't remember. But I read the book on it as well. It's the same concept, but a little different, of course. And so the Band of Brothers follows Easy Company, which is a paratrooper company, from their training in Toccoa, Georgia, to the end of the war. So 1942, and they began training to 1945. And arguably, of course, the author of the book calls it, the best company in all of World War II. So arguably one of the best companies to ever do it, right? And so the book mentioned this, like how did they do it? How are they so good? It was camaraderie. And I think we do a good job with camaraderie in our company, where people get along with each other. I mean, we have people that, are best friends during each other's weddings, that they didn't know each other before they came to our company, but now they're like the maid of honor, or a bridesmaid, in the wedding for that person, or groomsmen, in that wedding, and they go to church together, and they do life together. So I think camaraderie is the biggest important piece, where, I don't think anybody's dream job is to do anything that we're doing, right? I mean, it's, depending on the job, it can be tough, right? Because it's a lot of client facing, people facing fronts, and we start getting client facing, you'll run into some Chads and Karens, right? And people that aren't the nicest in the world. So there's some tough jobs that we have. So if you're gonna have a tough job, you gotta at least have some fun doing it, right? And while we are doing something very, very important, this is people's finances and people's investments. It is. I'm not saying it's not important. It's very, very important, but it's not brain surgery. Okay, so it's not heart surgery on a 2-year-old kid. Okay, so like we got to have fun doing it, and we got to have camaraderie, and we got to get along. And I think it starts with me, right? If I'm, leadership's the top down. I mean, I expect the leaders underneath me to love on their team, and I'm loving on them. Our C-suite knows that if something were to happen and they need, like, I'm on the first flight out, right? If that, our CMO's in Atlanta, something happens to her and she needs, whatever's faster, whether I can drive up or fly up, whatever's faster, right? Or you can get me a private jet, jet,
flying jets, jet.
So, I mean, camaraderie was where I would lean on if I had to pick one thing. Loving on your people, and just being there for them.
Absolutely. I can see that totally from what you described, because I recently saw that you fired maybe 6 or 7 of your employees when they were doing that, like, quick video with you, like saying like where they were using your credit cards.
Oh, yeah.
That was kind of fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
But, all of them kind of felt, that was obviously a trend out there, but like people sharing kind of some things may be true or maybe not, but like I could see that camaraderie with you and your employees by creating that video as well.
Yeah, and that's why, there's this whole battle, especially since COVID, of like in office versus, virtual, right? I just think it's so hard because we have both. We have, 40 people or so in office, and the rest of the 160 are out of office. And so, it's hard to create expectations inside an office where others outside of the office aren't having to be held to those same expectations, right? Of, whether it's being on time or doing what you're supposed to be doing, like, who knows? It's hard. It's easy and hard at the same time to track what others are doing outside the office, and it's just impossible to create camaraderie, right? I mean, Vic's my assistant, Victoria. Like, if we were strictly virtual and like never got together in person, like we wouldn't have the closeness that her and I have that allow me and allow her to do our jobs better, right? And so, now I go to the office once a week. I used to go more when the office was closer to where I live. We moved up to Tarpon Springs, and the office is in downtown St. Pete. So I go in on Wednesdays. But yeah, I think I'll always, never say never, but, we'll continue to focus on, we're going to hire first in office. And if we need a position, because some of our positions, right, have to be next to our properties.
Yeah.
If we have 100 properties in Scottsdale, it makes sense to have, 2 or 3 or 4, team members in Scottsdale.
Absolutely. Obviously, that was from a clip that you posted on social media.
Yeah.
What role has content creation played in your growth to $100 million company?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what Michael's done has been instrumental for our company. Without Michael, we're 5-10% of the company we are today, right? And so, I haven't started going out all in on social media until January 1st of this year. Kind of just the New Year's resolution goal was just, because I didn't necessarily have the time to do it. And then recently, what's the guy's name? Alex Hermosi. I saw a video of him where I think it was like 30 hours a week he puts into content creation, and I'm not even like putting in 30 minutes, right? And it's like, okay, well, it'll never show up if I'm not willing to put the work in, right? And so trying to balance that, right, of, all right, here's this added, essentially a business focus on content creation and the YouTube channel and Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and everything. And so, but what I did have was resources, right? And so hired someone that's all they do is content creation for me. Hired a full-time videographer, full-time social media content creator, and then offshore editors to move things quickly and efficiently. And so that's, it hasn't, for me personally, it hasn't, there hasn't been any fruit yet. We're still putting the roots down, still trying to grow. But I have seen what it's been, what it's done for Michael. And that's the main reason I'm doing it, right? It's because I've seen the opportunities it's created just from what he's been able to do, and partner with people and partner with other businesses and affiliate deals, whatever it may be, business partnerships for random software companies, whatever it is. So, I fully believe in it because I've seen it. I might not have fulfilled it for myself yet, but I've seen it happen. So,
yeah. Why did you decide to start a podcast?
Yeah, so a friend of mine has a successful podcast, and he swears by it. With everything he's doing, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, like the podcast is where he gets the majority of his clients because he has a high affluent offer, right? And so like, where are like the rich people? They're on podcasts. They're not on TikTok, right? TikTok's where the young kids are. At least I'm not on TikTok. Maybe that means I'm old. I don't know. But my team was on TikTok for me, right? So I guess that matters. But yeah, just from people that I've networked with who have swore by it. And it's fun too. I really enjoy it. Especially, kind of guest to guest. And I've met some amazing people. People that I wouldn't have met unless they were on my podcast, right? And then we can build a relationship based off of, common themes in each other's lives. So,
yeah. What was your favorite show that you've had so far, and why?
Man. What'd you say? Probably Julian Becerra. He's become a good friend. He started Overtime's Men Health, which is a peptide company, and like TRT company. I think you see people on social media, and then like you create what you think they are as a person, right? And people could probably go on Julian's Instagram and be like, oh, this guy's a douche, this guy's this guy's that. But like, one of the most genuine good dudes you ever met in your life. And so I think that's why I like the podcast too, because you can really get into people's lives and like really, and then build a relationship with them and then actually see who they are versus like, guessing what they are based off their Instagram. But he's great. He's created an amazing business. He's created so much attention, with everything, influence, with everything, that we've mentioned. I think attention, if you can get attention on yourself, you can be successful on Instagram, right? And he's done some like more Florida boy stuff, and some very controversial politics stuff. Yeah, probably him. It's just an amazing story from he was selling solar door to door to now running his own company. So just a good dude. I like good people, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
If someone is on the fence of starting a podcast or a show, what would you tell them?
I would tell them don't do it if you're not willing to go all in. Like don't do content creation. Don't do anything on Instagram. Like either don't do it or you give it 0% or give it 100%. Because I've done both. I've tried like I'll do a couple videos here, a couple videos there. I'll put 10% of my time, 20% in. No, you gotta go either none or all in. Just because the volume it takes to create successful content. And now, yeah, some people get lucky with like, a video goes viral or whatnot, and they get lucky. But I mean, the best way to do it, if you're gonna do it, is go all in.
Yeah. What is the biggest thing that you think content creation has done for you since you started to focus on that?
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely gotten sales. A guy, he was an attorney that was on the podcast, and I was on his podcast, and now he's a client of ours. Where like I didn't pitch him at all. It was just more like this, right? When I go through our story, and I'm saying, he's like, "Dang, that's incredible! Like, how do I get involved?" Right? And it's like, "Oh, here's what we do. Here's what we do now." So he's a client now, and so that's been cool. I mean, I think he was the first. We've gotten a few clients from like podcast listeners, right? But he was the first like podcast guest that I didn't even pitch. It was just more than listening to our story, which is the best way to pitch somebody, right? And so probably that, but then also just the amazing people I've met, like, who knows where the relationship with you and I will go. And then another mastermind I'm a part of, I wouldn't call it a mastermind, maybe it kind of is, it's called YPO, Young Presidents Organization. What I like about it is a certain amount of revenue is required to get in, and then there's an age requirement. And so I met some amazing, that was a problem, and the only reason I looked into it, because like all the people my age that are successful live in Hyde Park or live in downtown St. Pete, right? I got 3 kids. Like I can't be in downtown St. Pete or downtown Tampa. I'm out in the country. And so not many people are out in the country that are, I mean, all of our neighbors are, the average age is probably like 78, right? And so I was struggling with like, man, I wish there was like a group. And I was talking to a buddy of mine who's in YPO, Nick Friedman. He's been on the podcast, and he's a client too now. Founder and owner of College Hunks Hauling Junk and moving. They moved us. There's like one of the moving companies, over 200 franchises. They've been extremely successful, and so just meeting good people and quality people. Cause same thing. I mean, if you go look on Nick's Instagram, you might, who knows what you might think of him. But when you get to know him, like, he's such an incredible human being. So just meeting people that are very special.
Yeah.
And creating friendships.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to expand on something that you said earlier, which is podcast is the best sales tool that you can have. Who would like agree to sit with you and have like an hour conversation that is not sales?
Yeah.
Which is kind of like, perfect. So somebody mentioned that to me, somebody that has done some podcasts with like, some huge celebrities. And I was like, this is so true. Like you can sit and converse and not even thinking about sales, but that relationship that you're building with those people are, obviously for me, I'm not doing it for that, but like, but the relationship that you've built, like I had somebody a few weeks ago that came on the podcast that, did like $5,000 project with me. Like, otherwise I would not have met them from that.
Some of them are expensive too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I haven't done any paid podcasts yet where I've like paid to get on.
Yeah.
But I know there's like, they'll go up. I mean, I'm sure there's more expensive, but like some of these bigger names, like $50K to get on their podcast.
Yeah. 100%.
And so, which is interesting. It's like, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah. I have a couple of friends that have paid that amount of money to be on other people's show,
Yeah.
which is a little bit crazy. But
Yeah.
so I've been wanting to ask you this question about B&B investing.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some of the criteria for somebody that wants to invest with you? What are some of the things that you're looking for to get them to invest with you?
So first and foremost, they have to be pre-qualified. Like they have to have 250K of investable capital. And so and I even tell my family that like, hey, this is awesome. How do we get involved? Like, well, how much money do you have to invest? Like, we have 100K. Well, wait until you have 250K. Because not because I'm a jerk, because it's hard to be successful with 100K in our game. The game's changed from 2021 to 2026 or 22, or even even last year to this year, it's changed to where it's getting a lot more sophisticated. And then a lot more money's coming into our space, whether it be private equity groups, venture capitalist groups, Blackstones of the world are getting involved. And groups like us who are going all out. And then same thing, I get asked all the time, hey, I have $1 million. Should I do 2 at 500K or 1 at $1 million? And the answer is always 1 at $1 million. We make more money if you do 2 at 500, but I don't really care about that. The 1 at $1 million. The reason is because it's just barrier to entry, right? If this guy's doing 250, this guy's doing 300, but this guy's doing $1 million, they're going to create something extremely special. And it's kind of walking the walk and talking the talk too, where we just did a property in Texas where we put a full-blown wiffle ball field on the property. And so it was 250K for all the turf that we did, for all the bases, the backstop, the fence. It was $250,000 wiffle ball field. And so all in on the property, we're going to be $1 million, right? But once you include the depreciation on the property and the amount of money you saved on taxes, that property is going to be about 400K. All right, so I save 400K on taxes on that property. It'll create about a 10% or so cash on cash return. The forced depreciation, I bought it for 900K. It appraised for $1.7 million when we were finished with it. So the forced depreciation was almost 100%. And then the natural 4% appreciation year over year that the real estate market's done in its course of history, it's been obviously more the past 5 years. When you put this investment side by side with anything you got going on, it'll crush it. Whether it's stock market, whether it's oil and gas, whether it's charitable contributions, whatever it may be, there's no better investment on paper than this. And so for someone to work with us, they gotta have the 250K, and that's essentially it. I mean, have they're gonna go to a setter, they're gonna go to a closer. The setter's gonna pre-qualify them, make sure they're a good fit from a 250K standpoint, and then also just make sure that you're not gonna cause any problems, you're not crazy, right? And so we turned down some people that was like, I got $1 million, you won't work with me? No, we don't want. Our job's hard enough. So.
Yeah.
We want your money. We want you to invest with us. We don't need you to invest with us.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good delineation right there for sure. So the minimum investment to work with you is 250K.
Yep.
So what are some of the biggest misconceptions that people have around B&B investing?
Yeah, I mean, so it's funny. There's two sides of it, right? Where Airbnb is dead or Airbnb is successful. All right, I'm saying Airbnb is successful because that's where all my money goes, and I've seen it be successful, right? I mean, whether right or wrong, I don't have any single investments outside of short-term rentals. So, we'll see if I'm right or wrong one day. But then there's other people that will be like, oh, Airbnb is dead. Well, if you go look into those people on the back end, they're selling you a hotel offer. So they're only telling you Airbnb is dead because they're selling you to go buy Airbnbs, or they're selling you to go buy storage, right? And so I think you got to be careful of that, the misconceptions of, okay, why is someone telling me that? What are they selling that negates you buying the Airbnb? And so that's probably one of the biggest ones. And yeah, the days are over of you putting grandma's cabin with her 1990s crusty furniture on Airbnb and making money. If you're in the mountains and you don't have a hot tub, and if you don't have a pickleball court, and you don't have a fire pit, and you don't have a sauna, you don't have a cold plunge, you're not going to be successful. Like the bigger you go, the better. And not just for this year and next year, but for 15 years. Like, why did I put a $250,000 wiffle ball field in Texas? Well, I know, over the next 18 years, no one's probably going to do that, right? Like, oh, okay, let's go put $250,000 on a wiffle ball field. That makes no sense. But if you run the numbers, it does make sense. And so that's the plan.
Yeah. Yeah. For a lot of people, when they think about Airbnb, they just think, okay, just that extra bedroom that they have that they want to rent, or just like that extra rental property that they wanted that has 2 bedroom. But you were thinking about that in a whole new level by investing into the building and putting a bunch of additional amenities to make it more attractive. Why did you decide to go that route versus kind of doing the smaller mom and pop kind of Airbnb?
Yeah, I guess it's more bang for your buck, right? I mean, like the Texas property will do maybe even like $400,000 in bookings, right? So, should I go do 8 properties that do $50K a piece and create $400,000 in bookings, or gonna do 1 property that's $400K? So, I'm going to do the 1 versus doing 8x the amount of work to create the same money. And so, and that's probably the hardest part too, right? Is from closing to go live, like everything that has to happen perfectly, from the construction to the design to I remember when I bought my first property, it was 2021, so I had a 2-year-old, and then Sutton was born, 10 months later. But it was in North Carolina and we lived here. I thought, all right, cool. We'll fly up like once or twice, and we'll, get all the furniture in, get all the amenities in, and we'll be done. 9 trips later, right? And and we'd be done in a month. 5 months later, I mean, there's just so much that goes into it that you don't think about. And so that was probably the biggest mistake I made too, which is just an uneducated mistake of like not knowing what it takes from a time perspective, especially in a 2-year-old. So like, he's not going to sit there all day and let you work, right? Yeah. He's going to demand attention, as he should. And so we're really working in the mornings and nights when he's sleeping or when he's napping. But then we're tired come night because we've been working or with him all day. And so it gets challenging for sure, which is why B&B Turnkey has been a good offer, not just for people, because it's even hard for people that have time, right? Because, even if I wanted to do it now, because I have freedom, but we got two baseball teams going on right now. I'm coaching both baseball teams.
Wow.
So like I can't miss, hey guys, I'm gonna be gone for 2 weeks while I go do this property. Like we got 3 games, in those 2 weeks, and so people have commitments, and so it's hard.
Yeah, and I think it's also a fantastic idea because the people that actually is going to be booking those Airbnb are different to the standpoint, or they might not be as problematic. Because like if you're doing a luxurious kind of Airbnb like that, you're gonna be attracting a better crowd to rent those properties instead of having to deal with a bunch of people that would. I was reading something a couple days ago. Somebody that went to book an Airbnb and basically peed on all of the furniture and took it out and was selling it. And obviously got booked, but like you would not be dealing with those types of people that would kind of do things like that to your properties.
Yeah, it's funny. So we target groups and families, right? Most if not all of our homes are, 4 or 5 bedroom plus. Out of the 700, they're 4 or 5 bedroom plus with resort style amenities, pools, hot tubs, whatever it may be. We don't have any really like 1-2 bedroom condos where who knows where you're gonna get. Another thing we're excited about, we're going to launch another brand, it's a business number 15, called Paradiso. So there's a problem in the country where as a guest, and you just mentioned it, like if I have to travel with my family, like, okay, 3 kids, a third on the way. If my in-laws come with us, if the nanny comes with us, we need 4 or 5 bedrooms at least, right? Well, hotels are out of the question. So let's say I'm going to a golf trip in Scottsdale, a wedding in Charleston, family vacation at 30A in the beach, and a family vacation in the mountains, right? Okay, there's 4 trips we're going on that year, and we need a 5-bedroom plus house in all 4 locations. there's not a solution there right now where you can get large homes, ultra lux, so large homes for groups, ultra lux that are consistent. And so we're launching Paradiso, which will be a kind of an ultra lux property management company nationwide with a membership component to it as well. Where like, you know, you would become a member of Paradiso so that you can get first access to book these homes. Because it'll as we grow more members, that number of days will come down. It'll eventually be members only. We're going to start like 120 days out. It's members only, but then within 120 days, it goes to the public because the public will want that too, consistency across the board.
Yeah.
So we're excited about that. There's not a single competitor, and it'll be also very, very hard to, like, the moat for it is extremely wide because I don't know that anyone could ever achieve the undertaking of the operations side of it. Because when you go to those 4 locations, you paid for a membership for this to be consistent, so it has to be consistent.
Yeah, for sure.
So it'll be hard for someone to like create that consistency.
Yeah. Do you have any properties in San Diego?
Yeah.
Yeah. We've already booked that, but we have a massive family trip coming up in June.
Nice.
We may have maybe booked, and that was the hardest part too.
Yeah.
Like finding like a house that would be able to accommodate my family, my brother's family,
Yeah.
my parents,
Yeah.
my sisters,
Yeah.
and, all of those people in a single house was a difficult feat to be able to kind of do that, and
Yeah.
having all the amenities to kind of be able to enjoy ourselves like while we're there for the whole week.
Yeah, probably my best property is actually 3 cabins right next to each other. The first cabin I bought, there's 3 cabins on the road. I mean, it's like bam, bam, bam. And so in that instance, like, yes, it's not a one home that sleeps 33 people, but it's 3 separate cabins right next to each other that sleeps 33 people, which is
Yeah.
sometimes more preferred than the one house. Right?
Actually, that would yeah. So now everybody can have their own separate place that they can retire to.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the numbers are astounding when you look at, there's like some, the cabins nearby that kind of fit the same number of bedrooms and the same style. They're doing like, $40,000 to $60,000 in bookings. Where if you take all 3 cabins, because we have them listed independently, but then we also have them listed as 2s and as a 3.
Yeah.
So when you add them all up and then divide them by 3, it's like over $100K per cabin. And so, like, just the creativity with that, which is kind of, I wish I could take the credit for it. I just wanted it because that was like, I didn't want to have neighbors to deal with. So I was like, I'll just buy it and be my own neighbor, right? But then it kind of got lucky and turned into, and I was like, we could also do with 3 cabin. It should go well, but like I didn't know it'd go this well.
Yeah.
So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to anybody that is interested in investing in Airbnbs?
Go all in, which I guess that's the continual advice. If you're gonna do it, go all in. And I wouldn't go in if you had less than, 200K for sure, if not 250K. If you want to do it on your own and not pay our fees, you could do it with 200K. But go all in. It's hard to do and compete in markets. Not say it's impossible. I've seen plenty of people do it. But the barrier to entry is a big piece to this. And so kind of goes back, if you have $1 million, use all $1 million that you're willing, if you're willing to do that versus doing 5 at 200, right? Just do the one big one, let it kill it. It's going to continue to print cash, and the depreciation on it's going to be insane.
Yeah. If someone is interested in investing in Airbnb, why should they choose you?
Yeah, I think we've made the mistakes that you're going to make, right? And we have the expertise and the team behind it to perform. There's plenty of ways to do this independently, but if you have a busy schedule, if you are, there's 2 pieces of this. It's the cash flow piece, and then most important, in my opinion, is the tax side of this. If you're a high income earner, whether it's W-2, whether it's 1099, or whether it's K-1, or any other form of payment, most of the time you're going to be busy, right, and not be able to do this on your own. Like, it's so hard to do on your own. It takes so much time. So I think, if that fits you, then partnering with us would be beneficial because we've already made the mistakes. We won't create the same mistakes you'll make, and you don't have to be as involved.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, it's been such a great conversation,
Yeah,
man.
man.
So much that I wanted to chat with you about, but you've provided so much value already. So I have the last part of the show that I always ask everybody the same exact questions. So we're moving there now. So the first question that I have for you, if you had to share like $1 million advice to anybody, what would that be? What is your most valuable advice that you can give to them? Not necessarily to make $1 million, but it could be to make $1 million. But what is your $1 million advice?
I would probably go back to what I've said and mentioned before is be obsessed, right? So whether you want to be a successful baseball player, a football player, a soccer player, entrepreneur, or video gamer, or podcaster, or whatever it may be, like if you're not obsessed with it, you will not be successful. Like whether you're Tom Brady, whether you're a politician, whether it's you or me or Mark Cuban, they have all been obsessed with their craft. And when you're obsessed with your craft, you're going to continue to get better at your craft and educate yourself on your craft, whether it's reading books, podcasts, writing, journaling, whatever it may be.
Awesome. Great advice. Love that. If you had to go back to day one, when you, I guess maybe from the time that you made the transition from like being a teacher to launching your business, what is one thing that you would have what is one thing that you would tell your younger self as you're venturing into the entrepreneur life?
Yeah, I think it blends into your first question. One thing that I think's the $1 million piece and answers this question too is take more risk. I think then I didn't know what I didn't know, and I was scared to take risk, right? I thought it was like everybody said, hey, get a good education, get a good job, invest in your 401k, retire when you're 60. Like, who knows what the stock market's going to look like when we're 60, right? And so take more risk. And I think taking the first risk is the hardest, right? But the more risk you take, the easier it gets. And not just like, and not risk by like, just, by the wayside taking risk, but like calculated risk, right? Not too calculated where you're like planning, and just never executing, right? But don't be afraid to take risk and don't be afraid to execute. The first time jumping off the ship is hard, but it gets easier to swim every time.
Yeah. That is a bonus question. You spent 7 months not making any money,
Right?
when you first started the business. How did you kept going? Because like obviously, you were married at the time,
Yeah.
like having new babies and doing all of that and not making any money for 7 months. For most people, they will quit and kind of saying, okay, this is not working. I'm going to be done with that. So how did you keep going when you were not making money for 7 months with your business?
Yeah, I guess it's sometimes good to be on the uneducated side of being from South Carolina, right? Just not being the smartest of the bunch. And but no, I mean you can budget and you can see like when the tide's going to turn, right? And we kind of knew because so much effort and capital is going into building the team, going into. Because you get to certain inflection points, especially on the property management side, for the first year, that's all we were, right? And so the inflection points that come with that of, okay, it's just like me and one other person and Michael for property up to property 20, right? But then property 20 to 40, we got to hire somebody, 40 to 60, and then so as we get that first year, probably close to 100 properties or so, you create these inflection points, and then eventually the seasonality kind of takes over too. We make more money in March and July than any month, out there because our homes, and this is kind of traditionally across the country. Every single market has its own seasonality, of course, but I would say the majority of markets do well in March and July. because spring break in March, people coming to Florida, people coming to Arizona and going to the mountains, and every spring break's different. Just because it's spring break in Pinellas County doesn't mean, a random city and county in Michigan doesn't have spring break next week, right? And so, but March and early April, there's a lot of spring breaks. And then over the summer, with our homes being focused on groups and families and bachelor parties and bachelorette parties and whatnot, July is the best time for them because they're out of school. And then August and September, especially September, are our slowest because people go back to school and aren't traveling as much. And so same thing, like May, people have already used up all their school travel and all their days off of school. So May's a little slower. And so with us starting in November, once we got to July, it started to, it was a big month for us and we started making some money. And after that, we started adding these businesses onto it. And that helped as well.
Yeah. Side question again. How did you get your wife's buy-in when your business was not making money for like 7 months?
I mean, Kylie, I love Kylie. I mean, she's just had the utmost confidence and trust in me, whether she shouldn't have or should have. I mean, I guess it all worked out. But, I mean, I don't know. I guess it's the God thing where she just felt at peace and trusted me. And, obviously it's very one reason that her and I work so well is because, she's not that involved in the businesses, right? And so I can go home and she can just be a wife, right, and not be a business partner. Some people do it, and they do it well, right? You see the husbands and wife that create businesses, her and I would not be able to do that, right? And so just being able to go home and, her be an amazing mother, an amazing wife, and, us being able to bond on just being husband and wife, and her trust and belief in me, which is also, I think part of the story too. It kind of goes back to your original question of the belief I had. I think it comes from confidence from my wife too. I think cause it can get lonely, right? You're an entrepreneur, you're just getting started. If your wife doubts you, well then you're going to doubt yourself, right? But if you had the full support of your wife and the full support of maybe a parent or, or a brother or a sibling, it gets a lot easier. So.
Absolutely. What makes your partnership with your partner so great? What are the ingredients that makes that relationship that you have with him so successful?
Yeah. I think in anything in life, our marriage from July of 2000 or, August of 2016, our first month of marriage to, here we are, March of 2026, you learn so much about the other person, right? And so I know how she handles stress. She knows how I handle stress. I know how to communicate with her. She knows how to communicate with me. And so I think people make the mistake in marriage of trying to change the other person. The other person's not going to change. People can change, but they're still who they are is who they are, right? And so you have to learn that from them and be able to understand how to communicate with them and be able to understand how to work well together. I think that's a piece to it. I think, Jesus has been centered in our marriage. Did you know, fun fact, so 50% of marriages end in divorce. What percent of marriages get divorced when the husband and wife pray with each other every night?
I would venture to say 90%.
So less than 1% get divorced. If you pray with your wife every night, you have a less than 1% chance of getting divorced.
Yeah. I meant 90% stays together.
Yeah.
But so that's another 9%.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so okay, God's not real. Well, then if you say that, he's at least a placebo effect, right? at the very least, placebo effect. And so we pray with each other every night, and it just then there's a whole other thing of parenting that goes into it. Parenting's hard. Parenting's the hardest thing you ever do in your life.
Yeah.
It is by far. Running a business and what we do day to day is light years easier than being a parent. We used to be foster parents before we had kids, and I remember. So there were 4 siblings of this lady in St. Pete, and we took 2 of the siblings, and at the time she abandoned all 4 kids, and I was like, how could someone do that, right? But now I know what I know and have my own kids, and we have every single resource available. We got my in-laws, we have a nanny, we have Uber Eats, we have me and my wife, we have there's Like we have no reason to not succeed, and still sometimes it's like the hardest thing you've ever done. Okay, so then here's a lady in St. Pete, no job, government supported, 4 different fathers for all 4 kids. None of the fathers are around. No car, no family support. I kind of get it, right? I mean, by no means am I saying it's okay, but like I get it that like she gave up, and I don't know what the story, that was 2016, so we haven't, we kept up for a couple years as they went to grandma and grandpa's, but then we lost contact. So I don't know how it's gone lately, but like, I mean, I think that's it's so hard, and we still have, so like, have a special place in my heart now, understanding for like single moms. I mean, golly, and single dads, I don't know how they do it, bro.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me how it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
what is the book or a person that has made the biggest impact on you?
the Bible. Yeah. I mean, if you want wisdom, there are 31, I can't remember if it's 30 or 31 books in Proverbs. I think it's 31. 6 months out of the year, there's 31 days in a month. So go read Proverbs, the book of Proverbs, 1 book per day for a month. It's the book of wisdom, right? And I mean, I'll learn so much from Proverbs that I apply to my day-to-day life. That is a big benefit to, so I'll hit the Bible, and then any business book. God, there's so many. I mean, lately, I like books that I continually go back on and just like learn and like almost read over again, but at least go back and like, what did that say about that? There's a book called Unreasonable Hospitality, because as we're in the hospitality, hotel world, Airbnb world, the biggest thing the book preaches is basically essentially like what matters the most is doing more than what, from a hospitality standpoint, than what's required. So the example is we stayed at the Four Seasons in the Bahamas last week. And so, some good examples and some bad examples of hospitality. Well, a good example is we checked in, our room wasn't ready yet. Cool, no problem. We knew we were there early. Great. Hey, we're going to go to the pool. All right, we'll text you when the room's ready. Great, cool. I still have my phone on at that point because they were going to text me. And so they texted me. I was like, great, we're at the pool. We'll come get our key when we're ready to go to our room. Turn my phone off, good to go. Like, turn my phone off, at that point. Well, then they called me because they wanted to just make sure, like, hey, you coming to get you? Because we stayed at the pool for like another 2 hours. And my phone's off. So, I mean, that guy at I forget his name, in the lobby, he could have easily just like, they'll come when they come. He got out of his chair and he came to find us. This is a 50-acre property. He had no clue where we were, right? I don't even think maybe we told him we're at the pool. Maybe we didn't. And so he gets out and he walks all around the property to try and find us and gives us our room key. That's unreasonable hospitality, right? Of like, 99% of everybody else was just like, hey, they'll come when they'll come, right? And they go, oh, well, that's their problem. But, in the book one time, it was the story of at a restaurant, and they asked them where they parked, and it was a parking meter. It was like an hour only. They're like, hey, no worries. We'll go out there, around 50 minutes, and we'll put more money in there for you. Like, what restaurant's going to do that, right? The hostess says that.
Yeah.
And so I think just, doing the extra what people aren't expecting.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love that.
Yeah.
But going back to the Bible too, books of Proverbs.
Yeah.
That is probably one of the biggest, and I've been starting to read that too for me. And I think in Proverbs 2, it says that wisdom is probably like if you learn wisdom, like there's no reason why you won't be successful. You won't get wisdom equals riches. Basically, that's kind of what it says in there. So I love your point about reading it every single day and kind of going back and back, because all of the wisdom and all the knowledge from that is fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing for that as well. Man, it's been such a pleasure having you on the show.
Yeah. Blast.
For anybody watching this, do you have any special gift for them, or if they wanted to kind of learn more about your business, how can they do that?
Yeah, if you want to DM me the word tax on Instagram, it's at Elliot Caldwell, 2 L's and 2 T's. Full ebook on how to save money on your taxes by investing in the Airbnb. Otherwise, like I said, on Instagram, Elliot Caldwell, and then the Rise Collective on Instagram as well. Facebook, TikTok, all the above. And it's the website's rise-collective.com.
Boom. There you have it. Thanks so much for coming on the show. It was a pleasure having you.
Yeah, bro.
I hope you guys learn a thing or two. Definitely take that into consideration to go to his Instagram and DM him
The word tax.
and tell him that you're from the show as well.
Yeah.
Such a pleasure having you guys on the show today. Let's go.
Thanks, bro.
That's so fire, baby. Let's go. Make it a fantastic day.